I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. My name's David, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. At first, everything seemed perfect, or at least close enough. We had a good life, nice house, decent job, 2 kids, and a lot of plans for the future. I was stable, she was beautiful, and honestly, I thought we had something solid. But looking back, there were little things that started to bother me over the past few months. Small arguments that didn't quite add up, her getting more distant, and her suddenly being super protective of her phone. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just stressed or busy. I mean, everyone goes through phases, right? But deep down, I felt like I was missing something, like an itch I couldn't scratch. The first real sign that something was off was about 3 weeks ago. Lisa started acting strangely whenever I asked about her day. She'd brush me off, change the subject, or give me these half-smirks that didn't sit right. I caught her in a few small lies, but nothing serious enough to blow up about. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing her. Then one night I was coming home late from work, nothing unusual, just a late meeting, and I decided to check her phone. I didn't mean to invade her privacy, but something told me to peek. Maybe it was a gut feeling. Anyway, I unlocked her phone, and what I saw made my stomach turn. There were messages, flirty, suggestive, downright inappropriate. They weren't just friendly texts. They had that tone, the kind that screams more than just friendship. I saw her calling someone babe and talking about how amazing it was to be with him after hours. The guy was a real piece of work, a business mentor she'd been working with for months. She always said he was just helping her with her career, that he's a professional and not interested in anything beyond that. Bullshit. The messages were proof enough. I saw pictures of her in his office, late at night with her hair undone and her eyes telling a different story, one of pure lust. I felt rage, betrayal, just this sick feeling in my stomach that I couldn't shake. I sat there frozen, staring at her messages, trying to process what I was seeing. How long had this been going on? Was it just a one-time thing, or had they been sneaking around for months? My mind was racing, and I felt this wave of humiliation wash over me. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she look me in the eyes every day, act like everything was fine, and then do this behind my back? It was like being punched in the gut. I wanted to scream, to break something, but instead I just shut her phone and sat there stunned. For hours I thought about what to do, whether I should confront her right then or wait. But I knew I couldn't keep this secret anymore. The next day I planned to get some answers, whether she liked it or not. The morning after I found those messages, I was a mess. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and I kept going over everything in my head. Her words, her lies, the look in her eyes that night she thought I was asleep. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was right there. I felt betrayed on a level I never thought possible. How could she do this? With someone she's supposed to respect, who's supposed to be helping her career. It just made my stomach turn. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind or stupid. That day, I decided I couldn't just sit around anymore. I needed to get to the bottom of this, face her, and hear what she had to say if she even wanted to talk. I waited until she got home from whatever work she claimed she was doing. When she walked through the door, she looked exhausted but suspiciously smooth. Like she had this rehearsed smile on her face. I didn't waste time. I just threw the phone on the table and said, "Lisa, I saw your messages. I know you've been messing around with that guy, with Mark. Tell me the truth. Why?" Her face went pale for a second, then she quickly recovered, giving me that fake Betty Boop look she's perfected over the years. "David, what are you talking about? You're seeing things. You're just overthinking. There's nothing going on." She laughed it off, but I wasn't buying it. I told her I had the proof, that I'd seen everything. She rolled her eyes, then started lying. Even more. She said it was all just a mistake, that she'd been stressed and it was just sex, just a stupid mistake. "Men fuck everything that moves," she snapped. "It doesn't mean anything. It's just sex, okay? It was nothing. You're overreacting." That infuriated me. Her tone, her blatant denial, like I was supposed to believe her. I felt my blood boiling. I told her I wasn't going to be played for a fool, that I knew she was lying. And that's when she started going on the attack, accusing me of being paranoid, insecure, jealous. She said I was suffocating her, that I didn't trust her, that she needed her space. All the typical bullshit. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying all along, and I felt like I'd just been punched in the face again. I couldn't believe I married someone so bitchy, so manipulative, so willing to throw everything away for a quick fuck in her boss's office. That night I sat alone in our living room, staring at the wall, feeling numb. The betrayal was so fresh, so raw, I didn't know whether to cry, scream, or just shut down. I kept thinking about how she always called me insecure, how she dismissed my feelings, how she always said I was too controlling. But the truth was, I'd been blind and now I was paying for it. I kept replaying that night in my head, the look in her eyes, the way she lied to my face, the way she dismissed what she'd done as just sex. That's what hurt the most, her complete indifference to how much she'd shattered me. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let her keep brushing this off, acting like I was the crazy one. I had to decide whether I was going to fight for her, to try to save what we had, or just cut my losses and walk away. The thing was, I wasn't sure I even wanted to stay anymore. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. The damage was done and the emotional toll was enormous. I started thinking about revenge, not in some petty way, but how I could make her truly feel the pain she'd caused me. Because if she thought she could lie and cheat and get away with it, she was dead wrong. That's when I started making a plan, one that would hit her where it hurt the most, her ego, her sense of control, her very sense of betrayal. Over the next few days, I couldn't focus on anything else. My head was spinning, and every time I saw her, I felt this burning urge to make her pay. I knew I had to be careful, though. Confronting her again without a plan might just blow everything up, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to keep her around after what I found out. But I also didn't want to seem weak or get played for a fool. That's when I started to think about revenge, not some petty revenge, but something that would really make her feel what I was feeling right now. I started digging into her phone, her emails, her social media, anything I could find. I wanted to know if she'd been sneaking around with this Mark before I found those messages, or if it was just a one-time thing. I found out she had been meeting him after hours for months. Emails, texts, even some Snapchats that I didn't see initially. She was lying to my face. Every day, acting like she was just working late or catching up with friends. She'd even lied about her whereabouts when she was with him. It was like discovering a second betrayal, one that cut even deeper. I felt a mix of anger and disappointment. How could she betray me so easily, so callously? Now, I knew I had to do something bold. I wasn't about to be some cuckold sitting around while she played her game. I decided I'd gather all this evidence, everything I could find, and use it to confront her in a way she wouldn't expect. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done, not just a simple fight, but something that would shake her foundation. I also started talking to some of her friends, trying to gauge how long she'd been lying, what she'd told them, and whether she'd been telling the same stories to everyone. The more I learned, the clearer it became. Lisa was a manipulative, lying bitch. She'd spun her web so well, she almost convinced everyone she was innocent. Almost. But I wasn't done yet. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be the only one hurt. In this, I had a few tricks up my sleeve. I contacted a private investigator just to confirm some details and get even more proof. I knew how to make her sweat, how to turn her own lies against her. I also decided I'd expose her affairs publicly, but carefully, enough to make her realize that her game was over. I wanted her to feel the humiliation she'd tried so hard to hide. It was time for her to face the consequences. I spent hours plotting my next move, knowing that I couldn't just act impulsively. I needed to be smart, cold even. I'd record her conversations, gather more evidence, and wait for the perfect moment to strike. All the while, I kept my emotional guard up. I couldn't let her see how much she was breaking me. But inside, I was furious. Furious at her lies, her bitchiness, her blatant disrespect. And more than anything, I wanted her to realize that she couldn't cheat and lie without paying a price. Because if she thought she could get away with this, she was dead wrong. I was going to make her regret ever crossing that line. After collecting enough evidence, I knew it was time to put my plan into motion. I didn't want to just confront her and have her deny everything again. I needed her to face the truth and see that I was serious. So I arranged a meeting, just the two of us. at a restaurant I knew she hated, somewhere neutral but where I could have her cornered. I spent the day preparing what I was going to say, making sure I stayed calm, even as my mind was racing with anger. I also prepped the evidence, screenshots, recordings, everything I had gathered, to lay it all out clearly. When she arrived that evening, she looked confident, maybe even a little smug, like she thought she'd already won. That's what made it sweeter. I looked her right in the eyes and told her I knew everything. I played her the recordings of her lying, showed her the messages I'd taken screenshots of, and explained how I dug through her emails and social media. Her face went from confident to panicked in seconds. She started stammering, trying to deny it all, claiming I was just paranoid, crazy, or that I'd misunderstood. She even had the audacity to say it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, like she was trying to brush it off. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I had enough, that I knew she'd been screwing around for months, that she was a liar and a manipulator, that I wasn't going to just walk away and pretend everything was fine anymore. Her bitchy attitude came out full force. She accused me of spying on her, of being jealous and insecure, even called me a control freak. That pissed me off even more. I told her that her lies and her cheating were the real control freaks. She was trying to play the victim when she was the one playing with fire. I let her know that I'd had enough, that I was done pretending she was innocent. Her reaction was classic. She burst into tears, fake or real. I didn't care at that point, and started yelling at me, calling me a psycho, a jealous husband who couldn't handle her success. She threw out some bullshit about how she was stressed, about how she needed space, and that I was just imagining things. Yeah, right, I saw her desperation. I saw her trying to cling to that false image she'd built of herself, but I was done with her lies. I stood up, looked her in the eyes, and told her that this was over, that I was filing for divorce, that she could go ahead and keep her little affair, but I wouldn't be part of it anymore. Now, you'd think that was the end of it, but nope. Lisa, being the bitch she is, didn't take it lying down. She started screaming, trying to spin it that I was the crazy one, that I was ruining her life. I just walked out, leaving her there in the restaurant, furious and humiliated. The next few days, she tried to call and text 100 times, crying crocodile tears, begging me to work it out. But I didn't respond. I knew I'd finally broken the illusion, and honestly, I felt a strange sense of relief, even if I was still angry and hurt deep down. That's when I realized something. I'd been so focused on catching her, on proving her wrong, that I hadn't thought about what I really wanted. But now I knew. I wanted out. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences, that she couldn't cheat and lie her way out of this. I wanted her to feel the loss, the guilt, the shame. And more than that, I wanted to rebuild myself, without her, without the betrayal hanging over us. It's been a hell of a ride, and I know this isn't the end of the story. But one thing, for sure, I'm done being the fool in his own life. It's time to move on and learn from all this mess. The aftermath was a whirlwind of emotions I wasn't prepared for. The divorce papers were filed, and Lisa's bitchy attitude didn't fade. If anything, she doubled down on her manipulations. She tried every trick in the book, playing the victim, calling me hysterical, accusing me of ruining her reputation. But I didn't care anymore. I kept my distance, focused on rebuilding my life and blocking out her poison. Still, the scars ran deep, and I couldn't escape the feeling that I'd been used, lied to, and humiliated. The thing about betrayal like this is, it doesn't just hurt you temporarily, it fundamentally changes how you see your future. Every time I thought about what she did, I felt sick. Still, I forced myself to move forward, to think about what I learned from this whole nightmare. I realized I'd been blind, trusting her blindly for too long. She was a manipulative, bitchy liar who thought she could get away with anything because she was pretty and knew how to fake charm. But thanks to this experience, I learned to trust my instincts better and not ignore those gut feelings. I also learned a lot about myself. I've always been a people pleaser, trying to keep peace and avoid conflict, but after all this, I see how dangerous that is. I had to be honest with myself about my feelings, my boundaries, and my needs. I started focusing on my career, my kids, and rebuilding my confidence. Not that it was easy. There were days I felt like giving up, days I'd wake up wondering why I was the one left holding the bag. But I kept telling myself I deserved better, that I was worth more than a wife who cheated and lied. Slowly but surely, I started to feel like myself again. This whole ordeal has made me realize a few things I'd like to pass on. First, trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it, investigate. Women like Lisa don't change, and their lies usually come out eventually. Second, don't be afraid to take control of your own life. Revenge, in my case, wasn't about petty retribution but about reclaiming my dignity. Exposing her was the only way I could make her see that her actions have consequences. And finally, never settle for less than you deserve. I thought I loved her, but I was holding onto a false sense of security. Now I know real love means honesty, respect, and loyalty, not betrayal and manipulation. Looking back, I can say I've grown from this experience. It's been a brutal lesson, but one I wouldn't trade for anything. I'm not perfect and I still have scars, but I'm stronger now. I don't need someone who cheats, lies, and treats me like I'm disposable. I've realized that sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and rebuilding your life from scratch. It's not easy, nothing about this was, but I'm finally free from her grip. And yeah, I'll probably be cautious about trusting again, but I'll never let someone treat me like that again. That's the biggest lesson I've learned. Never settle, never let someone's bitchy attitude or lies make you forget your worth. If I could give advice to anyone going through this, it's this: trust yourself, face the truth, and do what's best for you, because nobody else will. And the pain of betrayal, it hurts like hell, but it also teaches you who you really are, someone strong enough to start over. I'm still healing, but I'm also moving forward. And honestly, that feels damn good. Now that I've gone through everything, I have a clearer view of what it all meant. It's strange, really, how someone you trust implicitly can turn out to be so different behind your back. Lisa thought she could get away with her lies, with her games, but I think she underestimated what I was capable of when pushed. I didn't just want revenge. I needed it. Not because I'm vindictive by nature, but because I needed to put an end to the bullshit, to finally stop feeling like I was living someone else's nightmare. Getting out of that marriage, I realized, was the best thing I could have done for myself. It made me confront a lot of uncomfortable truths about my own boundaries, about what I should never tolerate in a relationship. I won't lie, there are days when I still feel the sting, when I wonder what I did wrong, but those moments are fewer now. I've learned that sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself again. It's painful, but it's necessary. I've also learned that women like Lisa don't change. She's still the same manipulative, bitchy person she was, just in a different way now. The difference is, I don't care anymore. I've closed that chapter of my life and started a new one. I focus on my kids, my career, and my own mental health. I've become more cautious about who I trust, but I also know that I'll never let anyone treat me like a doormat again. I've seen enough betrayal to last a lifetime, but I've also seen that I can survive it, and even thrive after it. Looking back, I am grateful. Not for the betrayal, but for what it taught me. To trust myself, to stand up for what I deserve, and to never settle for less. I wish I could tell Lisa she's the biggest mistake I ever made, but honestly, I don't need her validation anymore. I've found my own strength. I've learned the importance of loyalty, honesty, and respect, things that she obviously never valued. I hope this story helps someone out there who's going through something similar. It's a raw, honest account of betrayal, of feeling lost and angry and finally coming out stronger. Because in the end, that's all that matters. No matter how much someone hurts you, you've got the power to rebuild, to move on, and to find happiness again. I don't regret confronting her, exposing her lies, or walking away. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the best decision I ever made. So if you're in a similar situation, remember, trust your gut, gather your evidence, and don't be afraid to take control. The pain will fade, and someday you'll look back and see how far you've come. Life's too short to waste on someone who doesn't value you. I'm finally free, and honestly, that feels damn good.